What does it mean to build truly inclusive futures, both here on Earth and beyond the stars? Well, if you're interested in receiving a comprehensive and compelling answer to that very question, it's something we're going to tackle during today's conversation. I'm motivated to explore with you the powerful intersection of storytelling, representation, and leadership with my friend Dan Deevy. He's a producer, host, journalist, nonprofit founder who has spent more than 25 years advocating for inclusion across Hollywood, the space industry, and science fiction. This conversation is grounded in timely and sobering realities, where research from the Screen Actors Guild and the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists reveal that 3/4 of LGBTQ plus adults and actors say they would view a company less favorably if they abandoned their DE&I initiatives. Furthermore, 16% of LGBTQ plus workers say that they've experienced workplace discrimination and harassment, and barely half of gay actors say that they feel comfortable being open to their agents about their sexual preferences in fear of not landing a job. At the same token, research from my friends at the Pew Research Center reveals a majority of Americans, and that between 69 and 72% of U.S. leadership believes that continued leadership in space exploration is essential, which raises the important question of who gets to be included as we shape humanity's future among the stars. Dad will share how fandom, science fiction, and community storytelling and building can be powerful tools for cultural change. He's the founder of Gays in Space and the creator of the Galactic Diversity and Inclusion Convention. He works to ensure that underrepresented voices are not only seen but celebrated. And he joined me this week to tell me more. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. Ready, I'll take a moment, my friend, to welcome you to the program, and I'm super excited to explore the intersection of space, Hollywood, and everything in between with you this afternoon. It's great to see you, and happy Monday to you.
All right, cool, let's do it.
Absolutely. So, Dan, I have to tell you, I believe that you are a most fascinating person, my friend. I know that you've spent over 25 years advocating for diversity, equity, and inclusion in Hollywood. You're the founders of Gays in Space, and you really are truly trying to meet people through the intersection of Hollywood and inclusion, my friend. So tell me, what makes you so fabulous, my friend, and why do you love what you do?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for that intro. I think that was one of the best I've ever had. So the next time I do a podcast, I may ask you to do the intro for them.
Excellent.
Thank you. Um, so it was a completely unplanned thing. My career was never what I thought it would be. In 2016, the Star Trek movie Star Trek Beyond came out, and they revealed that the character of Sulu was gay. And it was the first time in over 50 years that there was a gay person in Star Trek on screen. And, you know, Star Trek is known for being the beacon of hope and optimism for a future of equality. But the gay community, we were the only minority community to never be represented. So when that happened, I thought it was absolutely amazing that this finally happened, but no one else seemed to be celebrating it or even really acknowledging it. So the beginning of my career was I was an entertainment journalist, and I would go and I'd interview actors for movies and TV. And that year there was a big Star Trek convention happening in Las Vegas. And I was going to cover it as a member of the press anyway. So I said to myself, I was like, you know what? I'm going to throw a party. Maybe no one else will care that there's a gay character in Star Trek. Maybe it'll just be myself and a couple of friends, raising a toast to this historic moment. I said that would be fine. Well, it turned out that so many people did care that first party was so well received and such a success that the person we had the actress Nana Visitor, who plays Major Kira on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and she came. And when I invited her, she said, Dan, I'm coming, but I could probably only stay for like 20 minutes. So I was like, oh my God, just having you there will mean the world. She stayed for 3.5 hours. Like, I had to put her in a cab because the next morning she had photo ops at like 9 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And she found me the next day at the convention and said, Dan, anytime you do this again, I am there. So I thought, well, if Major Kira will come to a party that I plan, I guess this is what I do now. And fast forward, 10 years later now, we've done over 300 events. We've tens of thousands of people worldwide we have connected with, and we have created this community of love, of acceptance, of a community where when you come to one of our events, you could be the most different, quote unquote, person in the room, and you never feel anything other than you're welcomed and everyone is the same. And not only that, the differences between people at our events are celebrated. Like, I want to know everyone's personal story and get their perspective on things. And so it just became this wonderful place for members of our community to gather and to meet other people like ourselves. In fact, we know of 3 marriages that happened because people met at a Gays in Space event. And one of those marriages was myself. My husband came to one of the Gays in Space events, and the next thing you know, we're married, and we're being married by Denise Crosby, who played Tasha Yar on The Next Generation. So certainly, I had no idea that would happen. That was not on the career path that my guidance counselor showed me. So it's been one surprise after another and one delight after another. So that's my origin story.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to tell you that celebrating inclusion in all forms is so very important. And, career trajectories are never linear, right, Dan?
That's the best way to say it. absolutely not linear, because if you try to make it, what a boring life you will have. If you try to just go along one straight path, you leave yourself closed to, oh my God, look at this left turn. Look at that right turn. Oh my God, I'm going to space. Why are you going to space? Because I took a left turn. So that's a great way to say it. Life is not linear. Well done.
Absolutely. And Dan, I'm curious to get your thoughts on what it means to create inclusive spaces, because, as you know, being a part of the gay community, they're always not included in everything. And my friend, full disclosure, so when I was 9 years old, I was told by a doctor that I would never walk without assistance because I was born with cerebral palsy. But I always tell people that it's important to paint our own portraits of success, my friend. So tell me, what do you think about the whole concept of inclusion and creating inclusive spaces for your community, my friend? What are your thoughts there?
What's so funny, and that's such a great question. What's so funny is that in my work towards creating that space, that community for my community, we realized that every community needed it. And by nature of what we created, where it's everyone is not only welcome, but we want everyone from all different, communities to come. And so, we realized that, the African American community, people of color, women, especially right now, the trans community that is facing, such just what's happening now is just so, it's inconceivable, honestly, that it's happening now. And actually on that, you can see my t-shirt here. It's gays in space. And the tagline is live long and be seen, because that is so important that that you feel seen. And so as we have gone on, this space that we created is meaning the same thing that it meant to just the LGBT community, now to all minority communities. And in creating that, personally, for me, it's pretty hard. It's pretty hard to describe what that means to me. I feel, because trust me, there ain't no money in it. Like I do this not because I want a Lamborghini, but the kind of the joy that I feel when when we do these events and I'm there and I see people and I know that, the other thing about our events is that people who are from, like, say, the Midwest and are not the most accepting of people who are different from them, they will come to our parties because they love Star Trek and they want to meet Star Trek actors. And what ends up happening is that they come to these parties and they will talk to people, make new friends, and end up leaving saying, that gay guy was pretty cool. Like, he was just kind of like a guy. Wow. And the feeling of knowing that person is going home to their community, where they believe there are no gay people. Trust me, there are gay people there. They believe that there are no gay people. They're coming back with a greater understanding, a greater respect, and a love for our community, which we hope translates into things like voting. Who do they want as their representatives? They're going to want somebody who also thinks that gay guy was pretty cool. He was just a guy. And knowing that we can have that kind of impact, it's a joy and a feeling of pride that I never ever would have imagined, and am just so immensely grateful for.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dan, I'm curious to get your thoughts on the current landscape when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, I'm not asking you to get political, but certainly the whole concept of diversity, equity, and inclusion has really taken on what I'm calling an extreme home makeover with the perceptions of its importance, my friend. So, how do we keep diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives at the forefront of our minds, in your opinion, my friend? What are your thoughts there?
Also, a fantastic question. And just so you know, if you want me to get political, I got no problem with that. You let me know. I'll go down that road.
If you'd
But
like to, go right ahead, my friend.
well, in answer to your question, the thing about people advocating for their own communities, a lot of times other, like let's say I hate using the term, but say the mainstream community will look at things like just celebrations of other communities. If I had $1 for every time I heard some privileged cisgendered heterosexual white male say, "Where's my parade?" when the gay pride parade is happening, then I'd have a Lamborghini. But it's something that the way I describe it is, as we are advocating for our rights to be equal with everyone else, it doesn't just benefit our community, it benefits theirs, it benefits everyone. Because what ends up happening is, if you have, let's say you're in a room alone, and let's say you're in an escape room. Have you ever been to one of those escape rooms?
I have, my friend. Yeah.
Okay, so imagine you're in an escape room by yourself and you're trying to find the clues and figure things out. And you can't, because you're just like, okay, well, there's a question I don't know the answer to. But then someone completely different from you comes into the escape room. Now they have a completely different skill set, completely different experience, different, just different from you in so many ways, that when they join you, trust me, you guys are out of that escape room like this. And so when we get to the point where everyone is just a human being, and everyone realizes there's no reason for us to feel scared of or angry at someone who's different from us. When that happens and everyone comes together, we're going to colonize the moon. We're going to colonize Mars. We're going to figure out warp drive. We're going to make Star Trek look like an okay vision of the future, because when humanity as a whole joins together, I truly believe there's no obstacle that we cannot overcome, which is why DEI, diversity, and inclusion and equity is something that should be vitally important to everyone, because it will benefit everyone and will lead us to becoming the best versions of ourselves that we possibly could be.
Yeah, absolutely. And to that end, Dan, I know that back in 2023 in September, you addressed the United Nations on this very topic, my friend, speaking about the need or necessity for universal equality and humanity, my friend. And then you say it begins with permanent expansion of the stars and of inclusion, my friend. So take me back to that experience, what you learned from it, and how you hope the world would grow from your address, my friend. What are your thoughts there?
Absolutely. Let me begin with saying this was my reaction to being invited to do that. You ready?
I'm ready, yeah.
Jaw dropped to the floor, and I was blown away. So when it actually happened, it was, I have been so fortunate in my career to, to host events, to be on stage, to do, interviews, and, to be interviewed by folks like yourself, that I am, it's, I'm no stranger to that. But when it was the United Nations, I was nervous. I'm never ever nervous. And I spent a lot of time really thinking about what to say and how to say it, with the hope that at the end of speaking there would be some actual world leaders who might have changed, like, even if just like a slight, just a tiny little bit, their thoughts about us, how incredible that would be. And so when it came time for me to do it, it was the first, like, I don't know, 2 seconds. I thought, uh-oh, okay, I gotta be ready. I gotta be ready. But as soon as I was introduced, I was so at ease and was just having a conversation with these folks who just happened to be highly influential. And because of that, I was able to express all of the pretty much all of the points that I went there hoping to. And the main one being, exactly what you said, like, why equality is essential. Like I told them, it's not, it would be nice if, we could be included, figuring out how to go to Mars. That would be nice. It's like, no, it's essential. If we want to be able to do that, you need, like everybody you need for an escape room. Like I said, with an escape room, we are not going to escape Earth, travel through space, land on Mars, and build things that we can then live in if it's coming from one community, one perspective, and that's it. We need everyone to be included, to reach that epic milestone of that step forward for humanity. And the truth is, when I began speaking, I'm sure there were some, if not several, people who did not listen, who left, because there are just, shamefully, so many places on the planet that still do not respect the gay community, and I mean, places where it's illegal to be gay, where you can be killed, you can be stoned to death. I mean, the most horrific, horrible things can happen because you have found love with someone who happens to be the same gender as you. And so in places like that, it makes sense that they are not going to sit around and wait for the gay guy to have something to say. So knowing that happened, one, it actually gave me a sense of, they were scared. I believe, I shouldn't speak for them because I don't know, but I believe the reason they left is that people who have such ardent negative feelings towards a group, towards a person, they don't want to change their minds. They don't want to change their opinions. And they certainly don't want to risk listening to someone who may do that. And so that alone made me feel incredible that, that it was potentially, the power of having our community's truth spoken in front of them. But even better than that was everyone who stayed. Everyone who stayed, smiled, laughed. Because I don't know if you could tell, I tend to tell a joke here and there. Yeah. I tend to, take some really important things and make sure, that there's levity, because when you talk about everyone coming together, you're going to have fun. You're going to meet new people that are going to teach you how to party in ways you never thought about. They're going to teach you new dances. They're going to tell you how to mix new cocktails. It's a joyous, joyful thing. And the fact that, so many stayed and listened and respected, I felt truly seen. And my hope is that through my experience, other members of my community were felt seen as well. So it was one of the most amazing experiences really of my life. That, 30 minutes I will never forget, and it could not be more proud and more grateful that they invited me. That also speaks volumes, that the United Nations thought it was worth their time to have someone speak to them from the LGBT community. That was just, again, I keep using these words, but that really was so heartwarming, and gave me a lot more hope, perhaps a lot more hope than I had before. So yeah, talk about a mind-blowing moment.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was it.
yeah, for sure. And my friend, before I ask you my next question, I'm gonna go off the beaten path for a little bit. So, Dan, full disclosure. So I make my living speaking to organizations about the importance of hiring people with disabilities and giving marginalized people a chance at gainful employment. And when President Trump won a second time, I had a deep sort of a bout of reflection because I knew what it meant for the diversity, equity, and inclusion community, and I also knew what it meant for the gay community based on his past stances, my friend. So I'm wondering if I can take you back to the night that you learned that the president had won the election, and what went through your system in terms of emotions and practical realities for both diversity, equity, and inclusion, and the gay community as well. Because I know from a DE&I perspective, I went through a serious bout of reflection and, quite frankly, a disappointment that he had won again, because I knew what it would mean for the community. And I'm wondering your thoughts there as well, my friend.
Absolutely. That was a morning that I will never forget. Watching the results come in, or evening rather, watching the results come in and seeing the electoral board get more and more red, because I truly felt that Kamala ran an incredible campaign. She inspired, optimism, joy, love. I feel like she ran her campaign exactly the way she needed to. So my husband and I, we went into it watching, thinking it was a slam dunk. And to see as they went one after another going red, it was, I wasn't just fearful for, my community or marginalized communities. I was fearful for the world, and embarrassed, frankly, that American citizens would go with his ideals and his views, which are based completely on xenophobic views. The man, if you look at his entire political career, it was taken straight from the Hitler playbook. All the things that he did, all the steps that he took were to build something based on hate, based on convincing someone that, well, you got to hate that guy because that's the guy who's messing up your life. It's not, it's not me because I just deported your wife and your children. This other guy, because he sleeps with guys, he's the one destroying your life. And it was embarrassing to see how many Americans bought into that and how many Americans wanted that to be the truth, because having a common enemy is the easiest thing to galvanize people. In fact, I have a saying, which is that everyone needs to remember that hate is loud because it has to be. Truth is quiet because it doesn't. And that was a period of time where all the hate was as loud as it's ever been. And so too many people were taken in by it. So after the disaster that was election night, it turned into, okay, we got to brace ourselves, because we know at some point he's going after gay marriage. He is going to try to take away future couples in my community from marrying, but he could also come for me and my husband. He could, have the government say that our marriage, our love, and our commitment to each other doesn't exist because it's not right. That was very scary. I had no idea that, when Roe v. Wade was overturned and women lost the right to control what happens to their own bodies, I'm not a woman. I cannot have kids. I will never accidentally have a kid with a woman because, no chance of that. But the important, I believe and fight so much for that right, because if that is lost, everything could be taken from everyone. And so I was shocked when the first casualty was not gay marriage. And so going forward, I was not surprised, but obviously continually disheartened as I saw these policies come out, these attacks upon, my community, the trans community. I mean, the fact that, and this just, they rewrote NASA's history. Basically, you look on their website and it's the history of NASA, how everything, they rewrote it to exclude the achievements of women. Mm-hmm. And that was, first of all, it's like, why, what does that do for you? How does that have a positive impact, on anyone? And it was just so scary that could happen, because, when, referencing again, and I never thought I would reference Hitler to a modern day leader, because how could anyone possibly be as awful as Hitler? But when you look at what he did by, again, turning people against each other and convincing them that their only chance for a good life was to follow him. And Trump does the exact same thing. And knowing that in today's day and age, that has the power to come to fruition, they keep, another thing that completely blows my mind is that he keeps doing things that everyone, like everyone said, well, he can't do that because it says here that he can't do that. He can't do that. And my thought is, but he did. But he is sitting by and saying he can't do that means nothing if he's able to. And he has been able to. I mean, denying federal employees access to federal buildings because he didn't, when the whole Doge thing was happening, to stand there and say, you do not have access. You cannot come in. The guards were there to turn ICE, these people who have no training in police work, have never been to a sensitivity class at all, ever, that can run around with machine guns and wear masks and have the authority to walk into the residence of a person, who can bust into someone's home in the middle of the night, take their children, take their parents, and pull them out. No court, decisions, no warrants, nothing. A man in a mask with a machine gun face any consequences. And that is something that he can't do, but he is doing it. And he's doing it, in my opinion, with the plan that when the next election comes, he's not going to care if he loses. He's not going to want to leave. And if he has established basically a military presence in major cities throughout the country, not just ICE forces, but pulling in National Guard members, most of whom do not want to be there, most of whom disagree with it. The military, look at five-star generals. Truly, if you use the word hero in any sense, these are the people who are true American heroes. They will not obey illegal orders. And these are illegal orders that he's giving. And what happens? That he demotes them, or they're sent off, someplace far away because he can't have any dissension. So when it becomes time for him to leave and he doesn't want to, he has established a hold in all of these critical places so that when we have to make him leave, it's going to be so much harder. And all of that I just said 10 years ago, that would be science fiction. That would be the Walking Dead territory. So implausible. And yet, here we are.
Well, I'll tell you, January 20th of 2029 is going to be a great day, isn't it?
Let's hope. It's either going to be the greatest day ever or the day when I have to learn how to use a gun. But I think it's going to be the greatest day ever. That's my hope.
If democracy is still around, right now, I'm only kidding, but only halfway. But because we're living in a dangerous time, so
exactly, it's terrifying. But you also, to get through the day, you have to kind of laugh about how insane things are. Like, for me, when I watch the news, my husband watches every day. He keeps up on what's happening. I allow myself one day, an hour or two per week, where he will update me on the most important things. And after he does, I spend the next 3 or 4 hours ranting and going off and getting so frustrated and so upset about things. But then for the rest of the week, I will watch it by watching Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. because he presents the cold, hard facts, but he does it in a way that isn't soul crushing, that has humor. Watching, how crazy is it that my preferred source of news is late night talk shows?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're the only ones that, you kind of know.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of levity. And you also, this is so crazy, that they're not lying. Of all the news and media outlets, the idea of confirming a source and then double and triple checking facts, that was the heart of journalism back in the day.
Responsible journalism. Where did that go? No, I'm only kidding.
No, that is so true. But the only places where that has not taken over fully is late night talk shows. Because, like his whole thing about trying to, getting Jimmy Kimmel, off the air, and that didn't succeed. Getting the Colbert, the late night show, getting that canceled. And truly believe the reason that Skydance and Ellison bought Paramount was not because they wanted Paramount. It's because he wanted to take control of the news stations that Paramount owns, because then he can make sure the only news that is reported makes him look good. So, yeah, I get one time a week to digest the cold hardness of it, and then the rest of the week I have to see it in levity in a way that I know for a fact they are the facts I'm being told.
Now, Dad, I don't drink, but I use this analogy. Everything in moderation, my friend. And I went to school and I got a journalism degree, and I still moderate the amount of news that I want, my friend.
Right? You have no choice, right? Especially as a professional journalist. You pull your hair out because you just keep thinking that how, like when in the beginning of my career, I started working in radio, and I was the news and entertainment director at WNYU's radio station. And whenever we did, our block of news involved looking at the AP wire. You look at the AP wire, you see the stories that you are interested in telling, you pull that information out, and then you contact at least 2 other sources to verify that these are the facts. And the AP wire is, or was at the time, the most trusted, the most reliable source of information for news. But you still made sure that you did not report non-facts, that you did not report lies. And God, do you remember the days of retractions? The days of when journalists did make a mistake, they would have to print or speak retractions and admit, okay, my bad. I got that wrong. And it feels like that was 50 years ago that anyone would do that,
Definition, retractions, we don't do that anymore. Everything is gospel and the truth, right?
Yep. Yeah, like, don't look into it. Trust me, that horse can fly, but you're not allowed to see the horse fly, but he flies, and just go with it, like.
Yeah, Dad, I'm gonna stop us from going off a cliff, my friend, and I want to turn the conversation to something a little bit more positive, because our friends at Forbes, they released a study last year that said if you give employees or people that work in a professional office setting at least 40 seconds of, genuine attention and building community at work, no matter what the profession is, their productivity and morale is increased. So what do you think of the study and the importance of building connection and community at work. What are your thoughts there, my friend?
That I was very pleased when I saw that, because that's how you prevent people that are working for you from feeling like another cog in the wheel, from feeling expendable, replaceable, disposable. Just 40 I had no idea it was as little as 40 seconds, but if it's just 40 seconds to show, to let people know that they are valued, that they're valuable, and also that, and this is the big one, they are appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
They're appreciated. It's, your manager or boss, and they come over and they take the time to say, Kevin, you're really doing a great job for us. And that thing you did yesterday, dude, such a positive impact on the company. Like, we love having you, and keep up the good work. That's all it takes to build trust, to build gratitude. Showing gratitude for those who work for you, I think, should not be such a mind-blowing thing that it's a good thing. But doing that it just makes people happier, makes them less dreading that they have to go into work. It becomes an environment that they can spend 6, 7, 8 hours a day in, and not go home, really hating their lives and hating where they work. And it's just, so yeah, I'm glad that came out. And when you think about 40 seconds, if that's all it takes to make, even if it doesn't benefit you, if you're walking down the street, somebody passes you, you smile. That could make the difference in somebody's day. Like, I had a good day, and it costs you nothing. And it's, I hope it happens more. I hope people start to realize that showing others that they are valued and loved can make the ultimate difference in how they feel. So I am a strong advocate for those 40 seconds.
Yeah,
Yes.
me too, my friend. And I know that you have had quite the career in Hollywood, my friend. You were the CEO and founder of a website called The Cinema Source, and you created and produced over 1,700 interviews over the last 15 years when you were running that. You've also had the privilege of having the ability to run promotional screenings for studios like Paramount and Warner Brothers, as you mentioned, and Disney, my friend. And I'm also wondering your thoughts on those experiences in your time in Hollywood, and what it taught you about the importance of creativity and having passion in Hollywood. What are your thoughts there, my friend?
Yeah, it was another thing that I never thought would be my life. Sitting down across from, Brad Pitt, or at the time, I mean, these are still huge names, but like Brad Pitt and Madonna and Angelina Jolie, and just all of these just phenomenal talents, these superstars. Being able to sit down with them for half an hour and just talk, and be able to learn things from them that I never would have anyplace else, and to know that I was providing that same experience as best I could. I was always trying to replicate the experience that I had, and translate that to the audience, so that the audience would make it a more personal experience than most entertainment outlets, which were just kind of like, well, here it is, and this is what they said, and that's it. And so that experience, I think, was a major factor in me being able to then do a nonprofit, because founding a nonprofit, there are not a lot of people there saying, yes, you should do, absolutely, you want some money, here you go, we're gonna make it rain because we believe in you. Yeah, so having that and doing the promotional screenings, I mean, you talk about creativity. When you have a real clunker of a movie to promote, and trust me, over the years, a lot of clunkers of a movie, and it's your job to get people excited about it before it's released. You come up with some wacky stuff to do at your promotional screenings. You find ways to do like carnival type activities. You come up with a mini dance contest that you do at the front of the theater. You have to be creative because your job is to make it a personalized experience for people. So that way, when they go home, they will say to their friends, oh my God, yeah, I just saw this movie and you should totally check it out. It's really good. So, and that obviously, it now translated to all of the events that I've done, with Gays in Space. It's, make it fun, make it unique, make it something that people will remember. And also, it always goes back to this, makes them feel seen and valued and worthy. And, that we're happy that they're there and we genuinely appreciate that they're there. And I think all those years doing the promotional screenings led to me being able to accomplish that. And as far as creativity in Hollywood, man, we need more of it. We need so much more of it. Like right now with Star Trek, you look at the mess that has been created over that. And, people who want to make movies that are nothing like Star Trek, but they want to call it Star Trek. Just like, guys, come up with a new idea. Tell your space story and call it, Moons Over My Butt. I don't know. Like, come up with something, something original. Because that's what helps. I mean, movies, television, books, those are the things that culturally move society forward. They're the things that are there to inspire us to, to watch a movie and say like, wow, this character who, came from nothing, but worked, somehow worked their way into law school and then graduated and became a lawyer who then, achieved all of this success. I guess maybe I can do that. I didn't think I could, but, it's right there. I'm watching it happen. And that inspires people. So I feel it's the duty of places like major studios and TV outlets. It's their duty to be creative. Tell people that message. Find all sorts of new ways to communicate that message because that's what leads society forward. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, and I know you also spent some time in New York as the special events sort of director for Paramount. Well, you spearheaded some advocacy work as well, my friend. And I'm wondering how you think we can successfully sort of advocate for, inclusion and advocacy in Hollywood, considering the times that we're living in. So I'm wondering if you can take me back to your time with Paramount as their special events director, and how do you think we can wove sort of the need for advocacy and inclusion in Hollywood? What are your thoughts there, my friend?
You got to trick people. You got to bring people in for something that they know they're going to have fun. They're excited about it. It's something they want. And then you put in a little something and it ends up, what you want to do is you want people to learn from others that are different from them. You want them to learn something and walk away with something, but you can't be preachy about it, because if it's, if you're planning a rally, say for a political candidate, no one's going to that except the people who already are voting for that person, because there's nothing there that will interest people who are like on the fence or believe something different. And this is what I did with Gays in Space. What would end up happening is people come for the trek, people come for the community, and then the next thing you know, they both combine, because people start to realize, hey, we speak the same language. We speak Trek. So there's a connection. And it's a connection that the group that came just for the Trek were never expecting to happen. It just organically happened as a result of them being there. And so I shouldn't say tricked, but, presenting a situation where they will truly enjoy themselves and it'll be a great experience for them. And at the end of it, they realize, wow, it was also a fun experience for someone different than I am. That's how I truly think that's how you connect people. And that's how you advocate for DEI and for the rights of marginalized communities, because that's how you make a change. You make a change by having the person who thinks differently than you choose to change. Not change because they feel they have to, or that's what's expected. You make it their choice. And once it's their choice, they're happy. And they don't need to be convinced to continue to believe that, because it was their choice.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dan, I'm sure you've seen this, so I wanted your opinion on the 2025 and 2026 report from UCLA that reported on the significant and widening gap when it comes to inclusion and diversity in Hollywood. They say that the data shows that from 2026, the U.S. Hollywood and diversity report indicated that after historic gains and highs in both 2023 and 2024, again, there seems to be a widening gap in both opportunity and perception when it comes to eliminating things like color blindness and barriers to inclusion. So I'm wondering your thoughts on that report and how we can get Hollywood back to accepting a more diverse perspective when they're looking to cast things like movies and events. My friend, what are your thoughts there?
Yes, that was obviously disheartening to read, but not surprising, because things go in and out of, it's a fad where it's like, oh my God, did you see that movie? There was one of them queers in that movie. Wasn't that cute? Yeah, I want to see, I want to watch RuPaul's Drag Race. That's going to be super fun for a little while. And then the novelty can wear off. And I kind of believe what ends up happening is other, again, not to use it, but mainstream communities start to see themselves reflected less and less, because there are other people out there. There are, people of color, the disabled community, women, gays, there's so many other types of people out there that if representation was equal, well then, you wouldn't see a movie where 8 out of 9 characters were straight white people, because it couldn't just be, 8 white people. It would be representation from other communities. Mm-hmm. And I truly believe that the thing that scares the majority more than anything is the potential to become the minority. because consciously or subconsciously, they know how minorities are treated, and they cannot handle that. They don't want it. So I believe with Hollywood, it was a pendulum. It was a pendulum effect. Pendulum swung the way towards inclusion, towards diversity, which was so overdue. I mean, the entire history of Hollywood is white. The only way that other people's stories could be told was with independent films or small films, big movies that would be seen by millions of people. They're all white. Mm-hmm. And so the pendulum, it was long overdue for inclusion across the board. But then pendulum swings the other way. Mm-hmm. And especially when you have, leaders in our country telling everyone that it's okay to be prejudiced, to be, bigoted, racist. And racist, and, when you're hearing that from, up above, it's easier to say, yeah, I'd rather see a movie that is just all my people. Mm-hmm. And we're suffering. I feel like every aspect of our society is suffering in some way, shape, or form because of the current leadership. And yeah, Hollywood is no different.
It's not immune.
It's not immune, exactly. And but the bright side is that a pendulum always ends up swinging back the other way. So I truly believe we are on the precipice of like a golden age for our country, and by extension, the rest of the world, because we are in such a disastrous, like horrific state. Like, when was it this bad? Maybe the Civil War? Mm-hmm. That's how bad it is now. So when that pendulum pal of ours goes back towards our side, it's going to be paradise, because, it has to, because it swung so far bad that when it swings to good, it's going to be great.
January 20th, 2029. No. Dan, I also wanted your perspective on how to turn grassroots passion into industry-leading impact, my friend, because I know through your work in Hollywood and television and with games with space, it's something that you have a tremendous experience and passion for. So what do you think is the key to doing that successfully, my friend?
Patience, self-sacrifice, because you have to be so committed, and you have to love what you're doing. You have to be super passionate about it, because you start out with, I don't know, maybe your mom supports you. Your hopefully your significant other would support you, but then they're it. And your job from that moment forward is to convince complete strangers to join what you're doing. And to do that, you have to love it. You have to love it more. You have to believe in it more than anything else. And you have to be willing to make your life basically about that. And to make sacrifices. Like I said earlier, kind of jokingly, that, there's no money. I couldn't buy a fancy car, but that's the truth. The truth is, you're spending your time working to build something where you're not being compensated financially for it. But if you took a job someplace else, you could be making money, because they say time is money. And that's true. But if you're going to try to take a grassroots movement and grow it to the point where it has true impact on society, and try to take it as far as you can, you can't you have to be prepared and you have to be willing to live in a studio apartment instead of working for somebody else where you could be making enough money to own a home. You have to be willing to put that ahead of your personal desires. Like, you have to be okay with, it's going to be a long time before I can own anything. It's going to be a long time before my time once again becomes my own. Which I know all of that sounds all sad and dour, but I can tell
It's
you,
the truth.
it's the truth, but also, I can't imagine myself ever doing anything else. I'm not compensated with money. I'm compensated with, with pride, with the joy of knowing that I have done something that has made someone else happy, that has helped improve their lives. That is worth so much more than money has ever been to me. And so if you really want to make it work, if you really want to make it happen from the ground up, that's what you're going to have to do and sacrifice, and only do it if you love the outcome. If I didn't love all that I do and I was doing it and not making money on it, like, oh, no. If I'm going to have to do something that I don't enjoy and it's not fulfilling, they got to come by. Yeah, they got to come back with the money, So yeah, that would be my advice to anyone who, is thinking about trying to do something like that.
Tony, yeah. I mentioned earlier that you've conducted over 1,700 celebrity interviews, and you also believe that it's important that we embrace diversity and inclusion in the space industry. So I'm wondering your thoughts on, first of all, the lessons you learned from interviewing all of those celebrities, and why you believe that diversity and equity and inclusion has to be sort of enshrined in a space exploration moving forward. What are your thoughts there, my friend?
So when it comes to the celebrity interviews that I've done over the years, I truly believe those have impacted every aspect of my life, because you never know what's going to happen the first time you sit down with a well-known celebrity, because the first worry is, oh my God, are they going to be full of themselves? Are they going to be, are they going to not appreciate the fact that we're talking, or and I'm so happy to say that all those years, all those interviews, I've only encountered that maybe like 3 or 4 times, because, and this is something that I've learned from speaking with them, is that the gratitude, obviously, but also being able to engage with someone else about something that you don't know about, because you sit down with an actor and the point of you doing it is to promote something for them, to promote their movie, their show, whatever. And it's very easy to slip into the situation of the entire conversation, the entire exchange being about nothing other than promoting their thing. And in watching the way the actors responded to my, sure, we would talk about, the nuts and bolts of what they were promoting, but I would also make sure to add in questions, observations that would reference, myself and my life and, my friend's experience with something, and watching them be able to follow and flow with that conversation, because most of the time they're speaking with so many other journalists and they keep getting the same questions over and over and over again. So when they get the question, it's almost robotic. They know the answer. Okay, here's the answer to the question that 100 other people have asked me today. But when you go in and you ask different questions that they hadn't considered before, you can see them kind of sit back and really appreciate, like, oh, whoa, I have to think about this. Wow, this is fun. And experiencing that with them was such a cool thing that made the experience of doing it for all those years with all those actors just so much more fulfilling and fun. But it also, shaped the way that I get to speak to people who come to Gays in Space events, who come to, like when we have a booth or a table at an event or, whatever. I am, thanks in part to what I've learned from doing those interviews, I just, not only can I, but I truly want to know the other person's story. They may come by and be like, so what's Gays in Space? And I'll explain Gays in Space. And then I'll say, well, where are you from? When's the last time you did this? When's that, And I feel like that flow is so easy for me because I learn from the best. The people who know how to talk to others about specific issues. So that was a big part. And then the second part of your question, as far as
the importance of diversity and inclusion in space. Yeah.
In space. So that to me is, when you go into space, everything wants to kill you. Mm-hmm. You are so vulnerable. Everything would love to kill you. Now, if you're in space and you are trying to survive and there's another human being out there with you, mm-hmm. You don't care where they're from. Yeah. You don't care who they married to.
Or who they voted for, yeah.
Yeah, who they voted for, exactly. Where they live, on which side of an imaginary line. Because you're gonna die if they are not there to help you. So I truly believe that is because once you're in space, there is no other. Mm-hmm. You're just a human. You're another human. Yeah. And there are no other humans out there. So
and there's no labels, right?
No labels, exactly. Except you're the person who just saved my ass. Yeah. Thank you for saving me from dying. Mm-hmm. So I think that's, it's so essential because, and again, people coming from different experiences, you got a problem up in space that you can't come up with the answer for. You don't find the answer, you're dead. So this other guy who knows different things from you, different experiences, he's going to come in and be like, whoa, I think I got it. Here's the solution. So you need that because, if you had one person in space with 100 clones of that exact person, they're all going to fail at the same thing. But you have someone new, someone different, someone who grew up differently. You're going to have so much higher likelihood of surviving and succeeding in your mission.
Absolutely. And Dan, I promise this is my last question. But it's important to me because it's the way that I end all podcasts. And I truly believe, my friend, because I'll tell you a quick story. So when I graduated college, and I graduated with a sports journalism degree, and I wanted to become a sports reporter. And after college, I went on 10 consecutive job interviews. And I was rejected 10 consecutive times. Not because I wasn't qualified, but because at the time, now I graduated college back in 2010. So at the time, news directors looked at me and they said, you're qualified, but because of your disability, we view you as a liability. And ever since then, I've worked to define a legacy where I'm able to sort of paint my own portrait of success. So I'm curious to ask you, when it comes to your own life and legacy, my friend, how do you want to paint your own portrait of success? What are your thoughts there?
Before I answer that, I have a question for you.
Yes,
How
please.
how how did you? What was your reaction after the 10th time, and what was your plan, kind of moving forward? What did you like? What did you think? What did you come away with after that?
So to answer your question very succinctly, I became a professional speaker because I had to pay my bills somehow, right? So I used the leverage of my story, living with a cerebral palsy, being told at the age of 9 that I wouldn't be able to walk, and using my employment rejection experience as a way to make money by telling other people they should hire people like me. So
That's amazing. That's the definition of, turning lemons into lemonade. It's, yeah, they said you can't do this because, and you said, oh, not only can I'm gonna let a ton of other people know they can too. So get ready for more applicants that you think are qualified but won't hire. That's well done. Well done, sir.
well, I appreciate that.
Uh,
Yeah. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, that that's everything. That's everything. That's the way that, you know, when you're not welcomed, into something that's established, you create your own. That's how you do it. And we live in a time where we're able to do that. Not everyone has the fortitude to do that, but yeah, when they say no, you say yes, I can, and you build your own, and that's awesome. That's very admirable. It really is. But
so
now, okay. So
yeah.
for
So what
me,
about you? Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, you see what happened is I was tired of talking about myself, and it was like, okay, I kind of want to push it over to Kevin now.
Yeah.
But for so for me, I forgot the question again. So,
Just about your
oh,
life and legacy, my friend. How do you want that to be defined?
uh, yeah, I would. God, I would really hope that uh at the end of the day, people would say he cared. He really cared, and it was genuine, like, and that, wow, he tried a million different ways to succeed in creating new things that would positively impact other people's lives. Like, he clearly did not always succeed, but he would always try. I think it's so important that people realize that failure is the greatest teacher in the world. Because you learn, like, okay, I tried to do this one thing, and it didn't come together. And you're like, why? Oh, of course, because I didn't do this that way. Well, that means the next time you try the same thing, you've already solved a problem before it becomes one. And that being able to hopefully get hopefully God, what's the right way to say it? Hopefully impart that message to people in a way that is communicated simply by looking at what I did. Simply saying, well, now how did he connect Star Trek and and the space industry, and like public speaking, like hosting things, and like if anyone would have told me that, my career was going to be a combination of Star Trek, the greatest love of my, cinematic and entertainment life, with all the gay stuff, it's like my career is all about being gay and loving Trek. Didn't see that coming. Certainly didn't see that coming. And, it would be so great if, other people saw that and said, you know what? Cool. Like, you know what? I am, I'm a Mormon who loves My Little Pony. Maybe I could find a way to make my career connecting being a Mormon and loving My Little Pony. Those are the most random things I could have said in that analogy, by the way. But you know what I mean. Hopefully.
I got you, yeah.
You got it, right? Yeah, that's what I would love. I would love it if people, would remember me as the guy who cared, the guy who tried, and hopefully inspired others to find and live their truth. That's, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Dan, before your husband or your staff thinks I kidnapped you, my friend, I want to thank you for your time this afternoon, my friend, and really engaging in conversation about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I hope you saw my mutual passion for DE&I, and I want to thank you for the work that you've done to promote the importance of it, my friend, and I want to thank you for engaging in conversation with me this afternoon. It's most appreciated.
Kevin, it's been such a pleasure, and thank you for having me, because, like I said, I agree with your title. If more people did it, more people had the conversation, world and life would be so much better. So keep having the conversations, man. What you're doing is great. So thank you for including me.
Absolutely. And just before I let you go, my friend, tell me if people want to get connected with you. What's the best way they can do that?
So we have you can go to my personal website, which is just my name, dandeevy.com, and finding us on social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook. We no longer use Twitter, and YouTube.
Good decision. No.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And our handle on all of them is at Gays in Space, but it's 3 A's in gays, 3 A's in space. Now, if you leave out an A, I don't know where you're going to end up, but we take no responsibility for it. So you have to go to at Gays in Space. And you can also check out our website, which is gaysinspace.org. Also 3 and 3.
Fabulous, my friend. Well, have a great day of making a difference, and thanks again for the time, okay?
Thank you so much. Have a great one.